My dear friend, listen to me right now. This is not a message you scroll past. This is a divine interruption, a holy alert. God sent this moment to wake somebody up. Because you've been walking through life with your head down, feeling ordinary, overlooked, invisible, but heaven is shouting, you were never meant to blend in. You were born to break through. You are chosen, but you've been hidden. Not forgotten, not rejected, hidden. Why? Because your identity is not average, it's anointed. Because your gift ain't just talent, it's power. Because what God placed inside you is not for the crowd, it's for kingdom purpose. God locked your calling behind spiritual armor, because if the world saw you too soon, they'd try to use you, label you, limit you, ruin you. So he did what only a wise father would do. He concealed greatness. Just like Moses was hidden in the desert, just like Jesus was hidden in Nazareth, you too have been kept under cover, not to delay you, but to develop you. You are heaven's secret weapon. And God doesn't waste weapons, he sharpens them. So don't curse the silence. Don't doubt the hiding, because when God reveals you, hell will regret ever touching you. Before we go any deeper, pause right here. If this message is stirring your spirit, I humbly invite you to do 3 things. First, like this video, let that click be your amen. Second, join this movement of warriors rising into divine purpose. Third, drop 777 in the comments. That's heaven's number, completion, perfection, awakening. And if you feel God pulling you, don't scroll away. Declare it now. I'm chosen. I'm ready. Because deep down, you already know this word was sent for you. Let's begin. Beloved chosen ones, if you're still here, that means you're not just watching with your eyes. You're listening with your soul. You're not here because of luck or curiosity. You're here because something in your spirit knows this isn't ordinary. You've been hidden, yes, covered by divine design. And what I'm about to tell you right now is going to explain the how. Because it's not just that God hid your identity, it's how he did it. And why? He didn't hide you in a cave. He didn't lock you away from the world. No, he placed you right in the middle of the crowd, right in the open, right in front of everyone, and then he wrapped you in humility. He disguised you in kindness. It dressed you in quiet. You've been walking through this life as a paradox. People look at you and they think they see everything. You're calm, you're respectful, you don't shout, you don't brag, you don't demand attention. And because of that, they think they know you, but they don't, because underneath all that humility is a power that could shake the room if you ever decided to use it. You are the quiet storm, the kind that brews just beneath the surface, not because you're afraid to rise, but because you understand power isn't about noise, it's about timing. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need the spotlight. You're not playing for the applause. You're playing for the purpose. While everyone else is chasing attention, you're chasing alignment. While they're trying to be seen, you're preparing to be sent. You know, this isn't about being loud. This is about being ready when heaven says move. See, real power doesn't have to advertise. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It just is. And that's what you carry. You carry something that doesn't need permission, that doesn't need validation, that doesn't need to explain itself to people who were never meant to understand. That's why God clothed you in humility, Because humility is heaven's armor. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. It's not self-doubt. It's strategic silence. When others are trying to be kings by volume, you're being formed in virtue. And you may have asked yourself, why am I overlooked? Why do they keep underestimating me? Why do I feel invisible in rooms? I know I was meant to change. Let me tell you why. Because God has placed a veil over your value, a layer of silence over your strength, so you could grow without being pulled, so you could develop without being dissected. He has let people misjudge you so you wouldn't be misused. You weren't left out. You were set apart. And here's the secret. You chose that silence. You made peace with it. You didn't fight for attention. You didn't argue to be seen. You understood the long game. You're not in this to be flashy. You're in this to be faithful. Because you know that one right move made at the right time in the right moment will shift the whole board. You're not playing checkers. You're playing legacy chess. And legacy players don't need fast wins. They need final victories. You could have shown off long ago, but you chose discipline over display, wisdom over applause, obedience over popularity. Humility is not the absence of greatness. It is the protection of it. God uses humility to shield power from premature exposure. He did it with Moses. He did it with David. He did it with Jesus. And he's doing it with you. Don't you ever think for a second that your silence means you're not chosen. It means you're being trusted. God trusts you enough to keep quiet while he finishes writing your chapter. He trusts you enough to walk like a lamb while he grows the lion in you. You have walked into rooms where your presence alone made the enemy nervous, and you didn't have to say a word. That's not a coincidence. That's anointing. That's authority. You didn't intimidate them because you tried to. You did it simply by existing, by showing up, because even if they don't see who you are, their spirit does. The enemy does. That's why some people pulled away. That's why some doors closed. That's why some friendships faded. Not because you were wrong, but because they couldn't handle what's right about you. When the right time comes, you will not have to announce your arrival. You will not have to force people to respect you. You will not need to prove anything, because your silence will have already spoken. Your fruit will speak. Your discipline will speak. Your character will speak. And the same people who overlooked you will have to look again. And this time they won't be able to ignore what they see, because you were never hidden to stay hidden. You were hidden to be revealed in power. And when God says now everything that's been building in the dark will break forth in the light, and they'll ask, where did this come from? And you'll say, it was always there. You just didn't recognize it because it was covered. It was quiet. It was clothed in humility. God allowed me to grow in silence so that when I spoke, it would shake nations. So that when I moved, it would break chains. So that when I stepped in, it would not be for attention, but for assignment. So to the one who's been doubting your place in this world because you've been overlooked, hear me. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not missing your moment. You are being sharpened. You are being saved for something bigger than applause, bigger than titles, bigger than platforms. You are being prepared for something that will not only bless you, it will wake up everyone around you. And when it comes, it won't come with fireworks. It won't come with noise. It will come like you've always moved, calm, intentional, powerful, and everything will shift. Because the storm doesn't need to scream, it just needs to arrive. You've been hidden in humility, not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous. You are a divine paradox, a lamb with the strength of a lion, a whisper with the weight of thunder, and God has been shaping you in silence to release you in glory. Your humility was never a disguise of defeat. It was the mark of heaven's confidence in you, and when your time comes, nothing will stop you. Because what was hidden for so long will finally be revealed. And when it is, it won't just be seen, it will be undeniable. Now, if you've been walking with me through this journey, you already know that God didn't just hide you for no reason. He wrapped you in humility. He clothed you in stillness. You've been moving in silence, not because you're small, but because what's inside of you is far too big to be exposed too soon. But now we need to go deeper, because what you've endured, what you've suffered was not a mistake. No, it was training, divine training. And if nobody's told you this before, I came to tell you loud and clear, your pain had purpose. See, when you look back over your life, the heartaches, the betrayals, the rejections, the seasons of loneliness and deafening silence, don't ever mistake them as punishment. They weren't meant to break you. They were meant to build you. Every breakdown was a lesson. Every loss, a sharpening tool. Every crushing weight was not to end you, but to mold you. You weren't being destroyed. You were being forged in fire. You were being refined for something greater. You ask God, why did I have to lose so much? And He gently replies, because what I'm building in you is too important to be mixed with things that were never meant to stay. You cry out, why did everything fall apart? And heaven whispers, because I had to remove what was false, what was holding you back, to uncover the real you underneath. You question, Lord, I thought you loved me. And God says, that's why I allowed the fire. I don't raise warriors in comfort, I shape them in the flame, where true strength is born. Let me speak to someone who's been walking through the fire. You didn't make it through what you've endured by chance. That pain wasn't a mistake. It wasn't sent to destroy you, it was sent to shape you. You were in training, quietly, silently. While others were out celebrating, you were pressing through storms. While they chased popularity, you fought for your sanity. While they looked for easy ways out, you were learning how to endure. And though the world didn't notice, though those around you may not have seen it, heaven saw everything. Heaven recorded every tear, every disappointment, every restless night, and heaven smiled, saying, that one is being set apart. That one is marked. That one is going to make it. You see, everybody wants power, but nobody wants pressure. Everybody wants a breakthrough, but nobody wants the breaking. Everyone dreams of being great, but no one wants to suffer to get there. But let me tell you a truth that will shift your entire perspective. Greatness isn't born under lights or applause. Greatness is born in the dark places, in the quiet hidden spaces, in the rooms where no one sees you crying, where no one cheers, in the private battles, in the silence. That's where real warriors are forged and greatness is truly formed. You were forged in silence. While others depended on applause to keep going, you had to learn how to move forward in faith with no sound, no confirmation, and no visible reward. But you didn't stop. You kept walking through the darkness. You kept praying when nothing changed. You kept believing when no one else did. You kept showing up even when it hurt. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what sets you apart. Not because everything was easy, but because you refused to quit when everything fell apart. And I know it felt unfair. I know it hurt more than you could explain. I know you cried out asking God where He was. I know you wondered why He allowed such pain and suffering. But let me offer you a different perspective. Maybe what you thought was God ignoring you was really Him working behind the scenes with strategy. Maybe what you felt as abandonment was actually divine alignment. Because the truth is, He wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you, shaping you, and promoting you through the weight of pressure. Steel isn't created in ease or comfort. It's formed in intense fire. And you, my friend, have been walking through that refining flame for a reason. But here's what you must understand. Clearly, fire doesn't destroy your value, it reveals it. Fire doesn't weaken gold, it purifies it. Every time the trials of life increased, every time the heat was turned up, it wasn't to end you. It was to shape you, to refine you, burning away what doesn't belong and leaving behind only what's real, what's pure, what's lasting, what's eternal in you. Do you know why others collapsed under the same pressure that you've endured? It's because they weren't built for it. But you were being shaped differently by God. While others begged for comfort, you were given a calling. While they prayed for ease, you were trained in endurance, because what's ahead for you carries great weight. And only those who have been tested, refined, and proven can carry what's about to come. You didn't gain your strength from books or lessons in comfort. You gained it through bleeding, through the long seasons of waiting, through wrestling with doubt and still choosing to believe. You earned every ounce of wisdom in the wilderness. You learned how to hear God's whisper when everyone else was shouting. You learned to trust Him when nothing around you made sense. And that kind of deep, unshakable faith, that doesn't come from conferences or stages. That kind of faith comes from being crushed. God allowed you to be pressed so He could see what would come out of you. And it wasn't bitterness. It wasn't anger or rage. It was oil. It was anointing. It was a strength formed through surrender. A spirit that doesn't bend when storms rage. A heart that keeps worshiping even when it's broken. A mind that stays firm even when exhausted. That's what He saw in you. That's why He allowed the pain, because He knew you'd endure. He knew you wouldn't break. You might bend, you might fall, but you'd rise again stronger than before. And while the world looks at success as comfort, God measures it by endurance. He doesn't anoint the perfect. He anoints the faithful. The ones who stay in the fight even when they don't see the reward. The ones who keep building even when they don't know if it's going to work. The ones who walk in obedience even when it costs them everything. You've been through what others couldn't imagine, and you still came out worshiping. That's power. That's purpose. That's preparation. And now you carry something the world can't replicate. You've got roots. You've got depth. You've got understanding that only pain can teach. And God is about to use every tear you cried as water for the harvest you're about to reap. Because here's the promise: nothing you suffered will be wasted. Not one sleepless night, not one betrayal, not one rejection, not one season of lack. God has stored every moment, and He's turning them into strength, into strategy, into supernatural clarity. You're going to look back one day and say, it all had to happen. Because who you've become through the pain is exactly who God needs for what's coming next. And when you walk into that next season, people are going to say, where did you come from? And you'll smile and say, I came from the fire. You'll say, I was trained in the dark. I was molded in silence. I was tested behind the scenes. And now I've been revealed, not because I wanted the stage, but because I'm ready for the assignment. So don't resent your suffering. Don't regret your wilderness. Don't curse the nights you cried. Every moment has been working for you. Every hardship was heaven's hammer shaping you into something unbreakable. Every loss taught you how to win with humility. Every scar became a map leading you deeper into destiny. Because God didn't abandon you, He invested in you. And what looked like breaking was actually building. What looked like defeat was really development. And what felt like the end was only the beginning of your rise. You weren't just surviving, you were being prepared. You were being set apart. You were being made strong in the secret place. So when your name is called, you won't just step into the room, you'll be the room. You won't just make an entrance, you'll make history. This is the truth. The enemy didn't want you to know that your struggle wasn't random. It was strategic. Your pain wasn't pointless. It was prophetic. And your process wasn't punishment. It was protection. Because only those who've walked through the fire can carry the fire. And that fire, it's in you now, burning steady, burning pure, waiting for its moment. And when it's time, you won't need to explain your power. You'll just live it. You'll walk in it. And the same hands that were bruised in battle will be raised in victory. So hold on. You're not done. You're not broken. You're being built, and greatness, real heaven-born greatness, is closer than you think. My dear friends, after everything you've walked through, after the fire, the crushing, the wilderness, the battles, you didn't choose but survived anyway. You've come out with something no man could give and no devil could take. You've come out marked, and that mark isn't on your skin, it's on your spirit. That oil God pressed from you. When life tried to squeeze the hope out of your lungs, it lingers. It carries. It speaks before you ever open your mouth. See, some people think favor is loud. They think anointing is flashy. But what God put on you doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't even need you to say a word. Just your presence, just your existence starts shifting the atmosphere. And when you walk into a room, you're not coming in empty. You're carrying heaven with you. And that's why people get uneasy. I'm not talking about the ones who love truth. I'm talking about the ones who hide from it. The ones who wear masks and play roles and perform identities to survive, but the moment you walk in, something about you undoes them. You don't even mean to. You're not trying to expose anything, but your authenticity is so loud it makes pretense tremble. You ever seen it? Walk into a space and all of a sudden the room shifts. Folks start acting different. They can't keep eye contact. They get nervous, agitated, even irritated, and you're just standing there quiet, peaceful, smiling. You didn't challenge anybody. You didn't point a finger. But somehow they feel confronted. Why? Because real light doesn't argue with darkness. It reveals it, and you chosen one. You carry that light. You carry a frequency that doesn't fit in with the fake. You vibrate on a level that wasn't born in applause or platforms. It was born in private pain. And people can feel it. They don't always know what it is, but they know it's not like them. And the truth is, it's not meant to be. You see, God didn't call you to blend in. He didn't call you to be palatable or safe or familiar. He called you to be set apart. And what's set apart will always disturb what's been pretending. The Holy Spirit in you agitates every counterfeit spirit around you. And it's not because you're trying to stir the pot. It's because you walk in the truth, and truth always disrupts lies. Now, here's what I want you to get deep in your soul. You don't have to shrink to make others comfortable. You don't have to soften your oil so others don't slip. That's not your assignment. That's not your burden. You weren't called to adjust your brilliance for dim spaces. You were called to shine. And listen closely, some of the people walking away from you, that's not rejection. That's revelation. That's alignment. That's God removing the props. So you can see clearly who was never really with you. Because let me tell you something, the real ones, the called ones, the anointed ones, they're not intimidated by your light. They're ignited by it. But the fake, the jealous, the ones hiding behind performance, they'll always look for a reason to discredit what they can't duplicate. That's why God didn't let you be fully seen too early. That's why He kept you hidden for a season. You thought it was punishment, but it was protection. Because if the enemy had seen everything in you when you were still developing, he would have tried to take you out before your roots had time to grow deep. Oh, come on now. Jesus himself had to be hidden in Egypt as a baby, not because he wasn't the Son of God, but because he was. Don't confuse hiddenness with insignificance. Sometimes God hides you because he's still forming you. And sometimes he hides you to preserve you. So when it's time for you to stand in your full calling, nothing and no one can stop it. So when people get weird around you, when you start feeling that tension, when someone you trusted suddenly pulls away, don't take it personal, take it prophetic. That's the weight of your presence. That's the cost of the anointing. That's the echo of glory that sits on your life now. You are not here to impress. You are here to reflect. And sometimes your presence is a mirror people didn't ask for. a mirror that shows them what they're not yet willing to confront in themselves. You're not trying to hurt them. You're not trying to shame them. But when you've walked through the fire and come out with oil, when you've wrestled in the dark and still hold on to your praise, your life becomes a living rebuke to anyone playing church, playing faith, playing identity. And I know it feels lonely sometimes. I know you wonder why folks keep fading away. But hear me, God is trimming the room for where He's taking you. Because the next level of your life can't afford excess baggage. It can't afford fake loyalty. It can't afford shallow alliances. And you don't have time to explain your calling to people committed to misunderstanding you. Let them misunderstand. Let them walk. Let them talk. Because when God's hand is on your life, you don't need to shout it. It will show. And when the appointed time comes, what was hidden will be revealed, and no lie will be able to stand against what God has affirmed. So keep walking into rooms with your quiet strength. Keep showing up, carrying that sacred stillness. Keep standing tall in your truth without apology. Because the ones who are meant to walk with you, they'll recognize you by the Spirit. They won't compete. They won't compare. They'll honor, and the rest, they'll walk away. And when they do, thank God, because you didn't lose anything. You were just being set apart. You don't have to fight to be seen. You don't have to prove your worth. Heaven already endorsed you. The oil on your life speaks for itself. And when you carry that kind of weight, the only explanation they'll ever need is this: I didn't come to play a part. I came to be who God called me to be. And if my presence makes you uncomfortable, maybe it's because I remind you of the truth you've been avoiding. Let it be known, when God shows up in someone, it doesn't require noise. It requires depth. It requires fire-tested faith. It requires hidden seasons, pressing seasons, wilderness seasons, and baby, you've lived through all of that. So now that you're here, don't you dare shrink. You're not arrogant. You're anointed. You're not too much. You're the right measure for the mission. And the weight you carry isn't pride, it's purpose. Walk in it. Stand in it. Shine with it. Because your presence, quiet, grounded, holy, makes every fake spirit tremble. And that's exactly how God planned it. Beloved chosen ones, when God sets you apart, He doesn't just hide you, He keeps you. And one of the most dangerous, most sacred gifts He gives to His chosen ones is vision. I'm not talking about eyesight. I'm talking about insight. A divine lens that sees past what people present. A radar that discerns what's real in a world drowning in illusion. After all, how do you walk into a room and feel the atmosphere shift before a word is spoken? That ain't chance. That's spiritual sight. That's divine discernment. While others are impressed by status, by titles, by surface level charisma, you aren't. You've seen too much. You've been through too much. You've learned to recognize that not everything that glitters is gold and not every smile is sincere. While the world chases trends, you trace truth. While others run after noise, you lean into the whisper of God. That's the difference. That's why you can't be fooled easily. Because your eyes aren't just open, they've been baptized in fire. This is not a talent. It's not a personality trait. This is power. Power that comes from being pressed, from being stripped of illusions, from crying out in lonely places until your ears became trained to hear God in silence. This kind of vision, it costs you. It costs comfort. It costs normalcy. It costs being liked by everybody. Because when you start seeing what others don't, you also start making people uncomfortable. See, you're not just walking through this world blindly. You're seeing the spiritual currents. You're picking up motives. Others miss. You can walk into a room and know who's pretending, who's plotting, and who's carrying pain behind their polished smile. You hear the fear behind the laughter. You sense the manipulation beneath the kindness. And sometimes it's exhausting, isn't it? Sometimes you wish You didn't see. You wish you could be oblivious like everyone else, scrolling, reacting, consuming without conviction. But you can't, because you've been given sight. And now you're held accountable for what you see. Just like Joseph had dreams not everyone could understand. Just like Daniel could interpret signs that frightened kings. Just like Jesus saw into the hearts of men who tried to trap him with their words, you too have been gifted with eyes that pierce veils. But with this vision comes a warning, because people will either fear it or try to use it. Some will try to drain you, exploit you. They'll pretend to admire your insight, but only want access to your oil. They'll come seeking answers they don't intend to obey. And when they realize you can't be manipulated, they'll turn on you. That's the price of spiritual clarity. When people know you see them, they either flee or they fight. But hear me now, God only gives this kind of sight to those he can trust, to those who are humble enough not to boast, to those who are grounded enough not to weaponize the truth, because truth in the wrong hands becomes a tool of destruction. But truth in the hands of the faithful, it becomes deliverance. And I know your discernment has made you feel isolated. It's hard to explain what you see. You've tried to warn people and they called you paranoid. You've pointed out patterns and they said you're overthinking. But later, when things unraveled, they came back. They remembered, because you weren't guessing, you were seeing. That's why your presence irritates the fake. That's why shallow people avoid you. That's why you feel like an outsider in rooms where everyone seems perfectly fine. Because your spirit is tuned to a higher frequency. You're playing chess while they're playing checkers. You're hearing from heaven while they're echoing culture. And that's not arrogance. That's alignment. You're not better than them, but you're built different. You were designed to move beyond the visible, to sense God's movements in silence, to detect danger before it becomes destruction. That's not easy, but it's necessary. And listen, this isn't just about avoiding traps. It's about guiding others. God didn't give you vision just so you could survive. He gave it so you could lead, so you could warn, so you could stand in the gap and intercede. The same way watchmen stood on the wall and sounded the alarm when enemies approached, you are the watchman in your family, in your circle, in your generation. But watchmen get weary, watching all the time, carrying burdens, holding in revelations others aren't ready to hear. It's heavy, but that's where grace comes in. God never gives vision without giving strength, and he never reveals truth without also providing timing. So don't force what God hasn't told you to say yet. Don't uncover what he's still processing. There's a time for silence, and there's a time to speak. And wisdom knows the difference. And here's the key: keep your heart clean. Because when your heart is pure, your sight stays sharp. The enemy would love to cloud your vision with offense, bitterness, and pride. Because once your perception gets polluted, your discernment becomes distorted. So protect your posture. Stay at his feet. Keep your eyes on Jesus, not the drama, not the noise. Because the more time you spend in God's presence, the clearer you'll see. You won't just see what's wrong, you'll see what's holy. You won't just sense danger, you'll sense destiny. You won't just pick up on lies, you'll pick up on God's leading. That's the fruit of holy sight. And hear me well, if people walked away from you after you spoke truth, let them. You weren't called to keep everyone comfortable. You were called to be faithful, to be a light in dark places, to speak when he says speak, and to stay silent when he says wait. Sometimes your sight is the very reason he hid you, because if the enemy had known what you carry, they would have tried to kill it before it grew. But God protected you in the dark. He trained your eyes while no one was watching. So now when you walk into rooms, you don't need to announce anything. Your presence preaches, your silence speaks. You've been given eyes to see what others miss. So don't curse it. Steward it. Protect it. Because while others see problems, you'll see patterns. While others see opposition, you'll see opportunity. While others see a cross, you'll see a resurrection coming. So don't shrink your sight to fit shallow spaces. Don't dim your light to make insecure people feel safe. And don't doubt your gift just because they can't handle it. You're not crazy. You're called. And God didn't give you eyes to just admire the view. He gave you vision so you could move. So you could walk by faith, not by sight, yet still see beyond what's seen. You're not just seeing for you. You're seeing for them, for the ones who can't see yet, for the ones stumbling in the dark, for the ones still wearing masks, still trapped in cycles. Your sight is an assignment, and you may feel alone in this until you realize that Joseph was alone in the pit. Daniel was alone in the lion's den. Jesus was alone in the garden. But they all saw what others couldn't. And so do you. Keep seeing, keep standing. Keep trusting the one who opened your eyes in the first place. Because spiritual sight isn't a burden, it's a calling. And you've been chosen to carry it. My dear friends, sometimes the reason you feel out of place is because your mission was never meant to fit into the ordinary. You were not created for comfort. You were not designed to blend in. And you were never meant to follow the same pattern others follow. While the world measures success by applause, numbers, and approval, the assignment on your life was written by a higher hand. It was not scripted in boardrooms or measured by likes and follows. It was whispered into your spirit before you took your first breath. And because of that, people won't always understand you. They will misunderstand your silence, question your motives, and mislabel your movement. But let me tell you something powerful. When God gives you a mission too large for small minds, you will be hidden for a season, not because you're unqualified, but because what He's growing inside of you needs space to take root before it can be revealed. This is why God didn't allow you to be seen too soon. Because if they had seen your potential before your character was ready, they would have tried to shape you, claim you, tame you, and ultimately derail you. So He hid you. He placed you in quiet spaces, allowed you to walk unnoticed, overlooked, even doubted, not as punishment, but as protection. Because the truth is, people fear what they cannot define. And when you're carrying a mission too large to fit in their categories, they will try to shrink you down into what they can manage. That's why the cocoon was necessary. The cave had purpose. The silence had weight. Not everyone is meant to understand your process, and God is not obligated to explain it to them, because what He placed inside of you is not a conference call. It was a private conversation. And make no mistake, your calling is not just about you. It is not just for your elevation or your comfort. It is about the generations you will touch, the systems you will disrupt, the chains you will break, and the lives that will be transformed because you said yes. That's why you don't move like others. That's why you can't settle like others. That's why normal never fit you. You were being wired for impact, not for imitation. You are not here to replicate what has been done. You are here to redefine what's possible. You're here to bring something that's never existed before. And when God calls you to be a trailblazer, He doesn't train you on sidewalks. He builds you in the wilderness. He refines you in silence. He forms you where no one is watching, so that when it is time, you don't come out looking for validation. You come out knowing who sent you. This is why your process has been intense. This is why the people you thought would stay left. This is why doors close, not because you were wrong, but because your mission was too right to be understood in that room. You see, there are some doors that are too small for your assignment. And had you walked through them, you would have had to leave pieces of yourself behind just to fit. But God loves you too much to let you shrink just to be seen. So He let it fall apart. He let them misunderstand you. He allowed the isolation to shape you. Because isolation doesn't mean rejection, it means preparation. And what's coming requires a version of you that is not addicted to applause but anchored in purpose. Many of you listening have been asking why things haven't taken off yet, why the opportunities haven't arrived, why your voice feels buried while others are being amplified. But what if God isn't trying to delay you? What if He's trying to develop you? Because a mission this big cannot be launched prematurely. God doesn't just prepare the platform, He prepares the person. And that means stripping away what's not true, breaking the habits that don't serve the calling, healing the wounds that would sabotage your influence. Because He knows that when the light hits you, everything in you will be exposed. And if you're not whole, the spotlight will destroy what the secret place couldn't strengthen. That's why you've been misunderstood. That's why you've been set apart. Because while others were being celebrated, you were being consecrated. While others were growing wide, you were growing deep. And let me tell you something about deep roots. They don't show on the surface, but they're what hold the tree when the storm comes. You are not fragile. You are not small. You have been built to withstand pressure, to walk through fire and still carry peace. Because the assignment on your life demands a different preparation. And not everyone is called to this path, but you are. There's a danger in being exposed too early. The enemy would love to trap you in performance, to make you chase applause instead of intimacy with God. That's why God kept you in obscurity, not to punish you, but to protect the purity of your gift. Because what's inside you is not a product, it's a purpose. And purpose cannot be rushed. It must be revealed in divine timing. So don't despise the hidden seasons. Don't curse the silence. Don't rush the roots. Because what God is building in you is not for a moment, it's for a movement. And movements take time. You see, if the enemy had known who you truly were from the beginning, he would have tried to kill you in infancy, just like Pharaoh tried with Moses, just like Herod did with Jesus. But God covered you. He hid you. He let you be underestimated so that when the time came, you wouldn't be coming to impress, you'd be coming to liberate. Because that's what world changers do. They don't come to be liked. They come to shift the atmosphere, to tear down strongholds, to awaken sleeping giants, to break generational curses and open new doors for others to walk through. You are not just a person, you are a portal. And once you show up fully, others will find their way because of your obedience. So yes, your mission is too big to be understood by everyone, and that's okay. You weren't made for everyone. You were made for the ones assigned to you. For the ones who will be unlocked by your authenticity, healed by your story, and inspired by your refusal to quit. Your journey is not a mistake. Your delays are not denials. They are divine recalibrations. Because when the fullness of time comes, no man, no devil, no system can stop what God has ordained. So stand tall even in silence. Trust the process even in confusion. Walk by faith even when no one claps. Because what's ahead of you is not just a stage, it's a legacy. And legacies are not built by those who conform, but by those who are willing to be misunderstood for a season, to carry a mission that will last beyond their lifetime. You are not here to fit in. You are here to break ground, to shatter ceilings, to be a bridge where others only saw a wall. And yes, that will make you different. It will make you uncomfortable, but it will also make you dangerous to every system of oppression and limitation that dared to keep people bound. You are not just a name, you are a blueprint. And when the world finally sees what God has been forming in you, they'll realize you weren't late, you were being loaded. You weren't overlooked, you were being equipped. You weren't ignored, you were being incubated. And now that your time is near, walk boldly. Don't apologize for your anointing. Don't downplay your depth. Don't shrink to soothe the insecurities of small minds. You were never meant to be manageable. You were meant to be miraculous. So rise, lead, speak, build, The mission is heavy, but so are your shoulders. You were chosen for this, and the world will be better because you didn't quit during the hidden seasons. Your mission is not too big, it's perfectly designed for who you truly are. Now step into it, fully, freely, fearlessly, because your moment has come. Chosen ones. They don't understand you because you weren't born for this moment. They don't recognize you because you were built for something beyond this hour. You're not strange. You're not broken. You're simply early. While the world is still busy solving surface-level problems, you're already perceiving the cracks in the foundation. While others are asking, how can I win the game you've been asking? Who made the rules and why are we still playing this way? And when your questions reach that deep, you don't just shake the table, you threaten the whole structure. That's why they push back. That's why they whisper when you enter the room. That's why you feel the tension. Because your thoughts don't just stir minds, they disturb comfort zones. You don't just think outside the box, you've stepped so far beyond it. The box is no longer part of your reality. You've walked through experiences that shattered illusions and stripped away every layer of superficial comfort, and now you operate at a level of awareness that unsettles people. You're not looking to provoke anyone. You're not seeking to disrupt for the sake of it, but your presence alone exposes what's beneath the surface. People can feel it. They know you're not impressed by appearances. You see, beyond the performance, beyond the trends, beyond the empty applause and the illusion of status, you've seen too much to fall for what's shallow. You see through the system, and because of that, you can't be manipulated by it. That's why they don't quite know what to do with you. Listen closely. When God imparts to you that level of awareness, He doesn't immediately thrust you into the spotlight. Because what He's given you isn't meant to feed ego or chase temporary attention. What you carry is sacred. It's weighty. It's not designed for likes or instant fame. If God released everything inside you too soon, it wouldn't transform people, it might repel them. Some wouldn't be inspired, they'd feel threatened. Some wouldn't change, they'd push back harder. Light is a gift, but light unveiled too abruptly in darkness doesn't just guide, it overwhelms. That's why God hides you not as a punishment, but as protection. He's safeguarding what He placed inside you. You're not being delayed, you're being prepared. You're not behind schedule. You're simply too far ahead for the world to fully understand just yet. And I know how lonely it gets in that in-between space. The place where you see what's ahead, yet you're stuck in the present, waiting for others to understand what you've already lived. It's not easy to be the one with vision while surrounded by those still stuck in old versions of reality. I know what it's like to hold your tongue in conversations where your truth feels too big for the room. I know the silent weight of carrying real answers in a world that still clings to the wrong questions. You keep asking, why won't they listen? But God keeps whispering, because they're not ready yet. But you are. You've been made ready. That's why He's refining your patience, teaching you to hold revelation with wisdom, not pride. Because without wisdom, revelation can destroy. And you weren't born to destroy, you were chosen to awaken and lead. You don't just interpret what's happening in front of you, you discern what's being shaped in realms others can't even see. You're dialed into a divine frequency, catching the subtle signals that most overlook. While the world is consumed with noise, you hear the quiet moves of God. While others race for instant results, you're digging deep to lay a foundation that will last generations. You know, speed doesn't always equal success. Sometimes moving slowly is the wisest strategy. Because God isn't creating a trend in you, He's crafting a timeless masterpiece, and masterpieces are shaped in silence. And that silence you're in right now, it's not rejection, it's divine refinement. It's the hidden place where God deepens your discernment, anchors your soul, and builds the strength you'll need for what's ahead. He's been disciplining your voice, shaping your words, and teaching you the power of divine timing. Not every truth is meant for an audience right away. Some truths need to mature inside you first. You're not being dismissed. You're being developed. And when God says it's time, you won't just speak, you'll bring a shift that changes the spiritual atmosphere entirely. You've probably realized by now that you don't quite fit in most circles or spaces, but that isn't something wrong with you. It's actually confirmation of who you are. You weren't created to blend in. You were designed to form new paths, to reform what's broken and to rebuild what's been torn down. You carry vision and ideas that go far beyond trends, thoughts that challenge small-minded thinking. And carrying that kind of insight isn't light, it's a responsibility. But you were built for this weight. That's why your journey has been uphill. Your prayers haven't been ignored. God has been using the process to grow you into your calling. You see, your calling was never to chase after the pace of culture or to blend in with what's current. You've been chosen to create from a place of divine foresight, to bring forth what is ahead. You've been assigned to reflect the values of the kingdom in a world that has lost touch with its king. That's why you constantly feel the inner tension, the weight pulling on your spirit, the quiet pressure in your chest. You're carrying what's next while still living within the limits of now. That dissonance, you feel that gap isn't failure. It's the cost of spiritual sight. It's the mark of the called. But don't mistake a delayed release for a lack of value. The fact that the world hasn't acknowledged your worth yet doesn't make it any less true. Many diamonds remain hidden beneath the surface for decades before they're discovered. And just because others don't see your light right now doesn't mean God hasn't been polishing you in secret. He's been preparing the place, aligning the right people, setting the exact moment. Because when his timing comes, he won't simply introduce you to the world, he'll unveil you fully without hesitation. And when that unveiling happens, you won't need to strive for attention. You won't have to prove your value or seek approval. You won't need to promote yourself, craft a public image, or plead to be seen. The results of your refinement will speak louder than any words. The wisdom shaped in quiet places will outshine any spotlight. And those who once doubted you will come asking how you understood, how you saw ahead, how you stood firm. And you'll simply say, because God revealed it to me early. And instead of rushing, I chose to trust him and wait for his perfect timing. So yes, you are ahead of your time. And yes, carrying that awareness is a weight, but it's also a divine gift, because you weren't just placed in this world to exist. You were born to lead it, not with pride, not through noise or attention seeking, but with a calm authority, with unwavering vision, with clarity rooted in something deeper. You're called to be a compass for the wandering, a lighthouse in the chaos, a reflection that reveals both who the world truly is and the greatness it still has the potential to become. But until that moment arrives, walk in humility, carry what you know with quiet strength and dignity. Don't display it to impress, protect it with wisdom. Don't be in a hurry. Invest time to nurture and mature it. Don't be afraid of being unseen. Use that hidden season to construct a strong foundation. Let God continue to refine your vision, deepen your character, and enlarge your capacity. Because when the world finally recognizes the truth you've carried, they won't just notice you, they'll begin to follow your lead. You are light, but light must be aimed wisely. Even the sun can scorch if it's too intense too soon. So let God continue to shape your brightness. And when it's time, shine in such a way that others don't just notice you, they find their way because of you. You are the future, walking patiently through the present. And when your moment arrives, it won't just be a moment, it'll be a movement. And it won't be about fame. It won't be about applause. It'll be about freedom, about truth, about legacy. Because the fire inside you wasn't lit for attention, it was lit to ignite awakening. So hold on, pioneer, you're not late. You're not lost. You're just early. And heaven is counting on you to stay the course. Keep building, keep watching, keep walking. Your time is coming. And when it does, the world won't know what hit them. But you will, because you saw it all along. Beloved chosen ones, when you've been hidden long enough, when you've allowed God to shape you in the shadows and waited with discipline instead of desperation, there comes a moment when your silence becomes more powerful than any shout. That's where you are now. And that's why the atmosphere around you feels uneasy. You've walked through the fire without making noise, and now even your stillness is starting to make the ground tremble. Not because you've announced yourself, but because you haven't. Let me tell you something real. In a world obsessed with noise, the quiet ones carry the most weight. The ones who don't feel the need to post about every plan, the ones who don't have to prove anything to anybody, the ones who move with intention, not attention. That's you. You are not loud because you don't need to be. You are not broadcasting because you're building. You're not seeking applause because you're focused on results. And the truth is, silence makes people nervous. It unsettles them. They can't read you. They can't box you in. They can't predict your next step. They know you're doing something, but they don't know what it is. And that alone, that's power. Not manipulation, not arrogance, but presence, quiet, unshakable presence. See, when God anoints someone, he doesn't tell the world first. He tells the person. David was anointed king while still a shepherd boy. He didn't take the throne the next day. No parade, no press release, just oil on his head and a call in his heart. And for years after that moment, David remained hidden, still tending sheep, still dodging spears from Saul, still walking with God in silence. But silence didn't mean inactivity. Silence didn't mean weakness. It meant strategy. It meant preparation. It meant letting the power build beneath the surface until God said, now. You are in that same season. Maybe you've already been anointed. Maybe the oil has already touched your life. Maybe you've already heard the call. But instead of stepping up, you're stepping back. Instead of announcing it, you're aligning it. Instead of proving it, you're preparing for it. And that, my friend, is how kings move. Kings are not crowned because they shouted loudest. They are crowned because they carried something sacred in silence. They are not honored for how quickly they were seen. They are honored for how faithfully they waited. And when the time came, their silence turned into strategy. Their patience turned into power. Their preparation turned into purpose. You don't need to be loud to be effective. You don't need to scream to be seen, because your silence, when guided by God, becomes a weapon. It slices through distraction. It silences doubt. It keeps your enemies confused and your purpose protected. And one day when the curtain lifts and God puts you in position, people will look back and realize you were making moves all along. They just didn't hear it. That's why you don't need to justify your silence. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the season you're in. You don't need to explain your absence from the spotlight. You're not retreating, you're refining. You're not hiding, you're harvesting. You're not lost, you're listening. And let me say this, silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. In fact, some of the greatest victories in the Bible came not through shouting, but through stillness. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, terrified and trapped, Moses didn't rally them with noise. He said, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Stillness was their weapon. Silence was their strategy. And God parted the sea in that quiet obedience. So let me speak directly to you. The one who's been moving in silence, the one who's been praying behind closed doors, the one who's been sowing seeds no one sees, the one who's been fasting, studying, building, waiting, obeying while the world watches louder voices. Don't you dare despise your silence. Don't you let the noise around you convince you to abandon your posture. Your quiet is not empty. It's pregnant. It's powerful. It's divine. Your silence is not a void. It's a womb. And what you're carrying What God is forming in you, that thing is sacred. That thing is weighty. That thing is real. So protect it, guard it. Don't let the pressure to perform rob you of the beauty of preparation. Don't let the enemy rush you into revealing something God is still refining. You don't need to declare your every move. Let your results do the talking. Let your character be the announcement. Let your fruit be your voice. Because when God is truly in it, the outcome will speak so loudly, you won't need to say a word. And let me tell you what happens when you keep walking in silence. Your discernment sharpens. Your vision clears. Your strength multiplies. You don't waste energy trying to be seen. You spend it on becoming solid. You invest it in your craft, your calling, your communion with God. And when the time comes, when God says, now you won't rise with noise, you'll rise with weight, with the substance of years spent walking with God in obscurity, with the integrity of a person who didn't need the world's attention to validate the Lord's anointing. So here's your word today. Stay silent if that's the season you're in. Move in private. Build in the shadows. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them talk. Because when the moment comes when God brings you into the light, you won't need to explain how you got there. The oil will speak. The fruit will speak. And your silence, it will echo louder than any applause ever could. This is your path. The way of the refined, the anointed, the ones chosen not just to shine, but to lead, not just to impress, but to impact. And while others are broadcasting noise, you're sharpening a sword, silent but deadly, hidden but holy, quiet but dangerous, because your silence is not absence. It's authority, and authority never has to shout. My friends, let me tell you something real. When you begin to walk in alignment with God, when your steps are ordered, when your heart is pure and your intentions are clean, you don't even have to speak for things to shift around you. Just your presence becomes a force. Your stillness becomes a message. Your very existence begins to operate on a spiritual frequency that many can't handle. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to call anybody out. You don't have to point fingers or expose anybody. Because the truth is this, when God's hand is on your life, the false can't stand to stay close for long. You are a living filter. You are a spiritual litmus test. People might not even know why they feel uncomfortable around you. They might not be able to explain it, but something in them knows you see more than you say. Something in them knows you operate on a deeper plane. That what you carry threatens what they're trying to hide. And so without confrontation, without conflict, without accusation, they leave. See, you didn't push them out. You didn't slam the door. You didn't even say a word. But they couldn't stay. Because when you're truly walking in the anointing of God, your spirit carries a kind of light that's not just warm and inviting, it's also revealing. It illuminates, it pierces, it separates what's real from what's fake. And that scares people who are pretending. That scares people whose intentions don't match their words. You ever notice how people start backing away from you when you stop playing small? When you stop dumbing yourself down to fit in? When you stop entertaining surface level conversations and start choosing depth? It's not a coincidence. It's spiritual. Because when your light gets brighter, anything hidden in the dark gets nervous. When your spirit gets cleaner, any dirt in the room starts to feel exposed. You didn't change to make people uncomfortable. You evolved, and your evolution revealed their stagnation. That's why God had to hide you for a while. That's why He kept you in that quiet place, away from the spotlight, away from the noise. It wasn't rejection. It was protection. You needed a pure space to grow. You needed to develop without the contamination of counterfeit relationships. Without the distraction of people who loved the version of you that didn't threaten their dysfunction. You needed room to expand without sabotage. You needed silence so God could sharpen your spirit without interference. Because if he had revealed you too soon, the wrong people would have clung to you. They would have contaminated the soil where he was trying to grow fruit. They would have latched onto the vessel, but rejected the message. That's why he didn't just elevate you, he refined you. He didn't just promote you, he pruned you. He didn't just call you, he cleansed the room before he sent you in. And now you're beginning to understand the power of presence, the power of discernment. You can walk into a room and feel everything without anyone saying a word. You can sense agendas. You can smell manipulation. You can hear the silence between words. That's not paranoia. That's perception. That's what happens when you've been trained in the hidden place. When you've spent enough time in the dark to know what real light feels like, you've become a standard. You've become a mirror. And people don't always like mirrors, because mirrors reflect truth, not the filtered truth, not the dressed up truth, but the raw, unedited, inconvenient truth. And the moment you start walking in your truth, those who've been living in fiction can't stick around. It's not personal, it's spiritual. The unequally yoked aren't just in romantic relationships, they're in friendships, in circles, in spaces that were never meant to contain your calling. That's why your circle got smaller. That's why some people went silent when you started shining. Not everyone left your life because of conflict. Some just couldn't breathe in the same atmosphere anymore. They were surviving on masks, on manipulation, on ego, and your clarity choked all that out. Your wholeness exposed their wounds. Your peace disrupted their chaos. So stop grieving what left. Stop chasing what walked away. Some people weren't assigned to your destiny, they were attached to your delay. And the moment you started moving forward, they had no choice but to step back. That's not a loss. That's a lifting. That's God doing spiritual housekeeping. That's heaven making room for real ones. Because the ones who stay, they're different. They're not just attracted to your light, they've got their own. They don't compete with you, they cover you. They don't drain you, they pour into you. They're not intimidated by your anointing, they honor it. And that's how you'll know they're meant to walk with you. Not because they tolerate your power, but because they speak to it. Not because they agree with your steps, but because they recognize who ordered them. This is why your silence has been powerful, because in your quietness, God has been doing the loudest work. He's been using your stillness to do separation, using your peace to reveal pretenders, using your restraint to let the wheat and the weeds sort themselves out. He's been showing you without showing off, teaching you to stand still and watch him be God. And when he's done, you won't have to explain who you are. They'll already know, not because you told them, but because they saw who left and who remained. So walk with that awareness. Guard your atmosphere. Protect your energy, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Because when God chooses you, he doesn't just elevate your calling, he sanctifies your space. He doesn't just send you, he secures you. And that security comes with solitude. That protection comes with pruning. That favor comes with filtration. You're not just chosen to be seen. You're chosen to be separate, not in pride, not in isolation, but in alignment, in obedience, in clarity. Because your life isn't about popularity, it's about purpose. And that purpose will push some people away just as surely as it will draw the right ones near. So if they leave, let them. If they walk, release them. If they can't handle who you're becoming, bless them and keep becoming, because your assignment needs room to breathe. Your anointing needs space to grow. And your soul deserves the peace that comes from knowing you didn't have to force anything. You just had to shine, and the light took care of the rest. My dear friends, do you know there's a timing to everything God ordains, a divine sequence, a a holy rhythm. And if you are one of God's chosen vessels, you can feel it. You may not be able to explain it, but deep inside, something tells you you're not like everyone else. You don't move at the world's pace. You don't chase the spotlight. You don't run after applause. Because something within you is too sacred for that, too weighty. You're not here for a performance, you're here on assignment. You carry something from heaven that hasn't been released yet. And that something that is your gift is not just talent. It's not just skill. It's not even just purpose. It's a God-breathed deposit, a divine investment made into your soul before you even had language to name it. And the reason it hasn't exploded yet is not because you're unworthy. It's not because you're late. It's not because you missed your moment. It's because the timing is not yet. And when the timing is not yet, God hides what he intends to reveal with power. He conceals what he's forming so that nothing premature will rob it of its full force. You are not delayed. You are being timed. You are heaven's ticking clock. Every second of your waiting is working for you. Every season of obscurity is packing more fire into what will one day detonate and shake the system you've been sent to disrupt. You don't need to beg for a platform, because when the time is right, your voice will shake rooms without needing a microphone. You don't need to force open doors, because when heaven's moment arrives, the doors that matter will swing open without effort. But here's the key in this season: your strength is in your stillness. Your power is in your patience. You're not idle. You're incubating. You're not wasting time. You're being shaped by eternity. The gift inside you isn't asleep, it's in formation. And formation is a holy process. It is slow, it is hidden, it is often misunderstood, but it is absolutely necessary. See, if God had let you release your gift too early, it would have lacked the depth, the roots, the conviction. And heaven doesn't do shallow. Heaven doesn't release halfway things. That's why God has you in divine tension, not because you're being punished, but because you're being prepared. And preparation is what makes the explosion not only impactful, but lasting. Many people want the explosion. Few submit to the process. But you've stayed, you've endured. You've let him prune you, stretch you, silence you, and refine you. And because of that, you won't just explode, you'll erupt with purpose. You'll tear through atmospheres with clarity. You'll move mountains not with noise, but with weight. And when that day comes, when the fullness of time meets the readiness of your gift, hell will tremble. Not because of how loud you are, but because of how real you are. Because what God has placed in you is not entertainment, it's transformation. You are not a firecracker. You are a holy bomb, timed by the throne room. And every delay is a countdown. Every not yet is a tick on heaven's clock. You are a divine detonation in the making. And I need you to hear me. Now, you have not been forgotten. You have been calibrated, positioned, measured down to the second. Because God is not just interested in using you, he's interested in maximizing you. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs substance. It needs weight. It needs truth. And that's what you carry. You may not look like much now. You may feel overlooked. But the ones who are truly dangerous for the kingdom are often the quiet ones, the still ones, the ones building in silence. Because when their moment comes, they don't just speak, they shift things. They don't just appear, they transform the environment. And you, yes, you are that kind of vessel. There's a brilliance in how God works. He doesn't waste your wilderness. He doesn't waste your hiding place. He uses it to shape a character that won't collapse when the light finally hits you. Because the weight of glory is real. It crushes the unprepared, but you won't be crushed. You've been forged in private. The fire didn't kill you, it solidified you. The silence didn't break you, it built you. You've been listening, learning, absorbing, growing. And while the world was busy chasing trends, you were learning truth. While others were building platforms, you were building depth. While they posted for attention, you were praying for direction. And now that prayer has matured into power, silent power, hidden power, but soon to be revealed power. And let me tell you something else. When it's time, you won't even need to announce it. The atmosphere will announce it for you. Demons will notice. Chains will break. Strongholds will tremble. Not because you shouted, but because you were sent. Not because you went viral, but because you went deep. Because you stayed when it was hard. Because you obeyed when it made no sense. Because you trusted God's clock over man's applause. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you explosive. Not your charisma, but your consecration. Not your image, but your integrity. And that's why your patience is not weakness. It's wisdom. Heaven's wisdom. Kingdom timing. You see, a bomb doesn't make noise while it's being assembled. It just sits still. Piece by piece, power is packed into it. It looks harmless from the outside, silent, ordinary, but inside, something mighty is being formed. And when the moment comes when that fuse is lit, it doesn't whisper, it doesn't warn, it changes everything. That's you. Heaven has been building you layer by layer, revelation by revelation, battle by battle, breakthrough by breakthrough. And when your fuse meets God's fire, there will be no stopping the force you become. So don't despise the delay. Don't curse the silence. Don't resent the stillness. This is sacred. This is holy. This is strategy. And let me say this to your soul. The waiting is not in vain. The silence is not punishment. It's preservation. It's protection. Because you're not being launched to impress. You're being launched to impact, to shift, to break open spiritual atmospheres, to wake the sleeping, to deliver the bound, to ignite the dry bones. That's not something you rush. That's not something you microwave. That's something God prepares in the dark so it can shine with fire in the light. So walk tall even when the room doesn't see you yet. Walk anchored even when the doors stay shut. Walk ready even when no invitation has come. Because you don't live by man's schedule. You live by divine assignment. You are a walking answer, a carrier of heaven's breath. And that gift inside you, oh, it's going to explode. And when it does, it will break every limitation. It will silence every lie. It will make every season of silence worth it. Because the earth has been groaning for what you carry. And heaven has been preparing it for such a time as this. You don't need to push. You don't need to panic. You just need to stay positioned, aligned, anchored in your God. Because the countdown has already started. And when the moment hits, the world won't just witness you, they'll be awakened by you. You are the sound of heaven's timing. And that timing is near. O chosen ones. Let me take you back to a moment that's familiar but often misunderstood. That space where the crowd disappears, the phone stops ringing, the applause fades, and the room gets quiet. That silence, it can feel loud. But for the chosen ones, that silence is sacred. Because for you, it was never a punishment, it was preparation. See, while the world thinks being alone is a weakness for the anointed, it's where strength is born. You weren't left behind, you were set apart. You were born to be strong in solitude. You were designed by the hands of the Creator, not to lean on the noise, but to thrive in the hush. While others panic in silence, you get planted. While others crumble in isolation, you get carved into something eternal. That's why life had to take you the long way. That's why certain circles closed up. That's why people walked out and never gave you a reason. Because if you had stayed in their noise, you would have never learned to hear the whisper of God. Isolation didn't break you, it built you. It revealed to you what applause could never affirm, In the shadows of your solitude, you discovered that your worth wasn't in being seen, but in being known by God. That's the difference. The world looks for validation in followers, but you found confirmation in the voice that made the stars. You don't need a platform when heaven already gave you purpose. You don't need a stage when God already gave you an assignment. And no, you don't need approval when the one who formed the oceans already said, "You are mine." You see, the world tries to rush destiny. People will crowd around your gift and expect you to perform, to deliver, to entertain. But God wasn't rushing you. He wasn't concerned with your image. He was concerned with your foundation. So he did something only he could do. He separated you. He brought you into the wilderness, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because only in that place where the voices are few and the distractions are gone can you truly hear what he's saying. It was in the desert that Moses met God. It was in the wilderness that Jesus was strengthened. It was in exile that John received the revelation. And it is in your solitude that you received your call. You've been trying to figure out why it's been so quiet around you. Why relationships faded. Why friends you once trusted are now strangers. Why you feel the sting of loneliness. Even when you're surrounded by people, it's not because something is wrong with you, it's because something is right. You've outgrown rooms that couldn't hold your next chapter. You've surpassed conversations that no longer align with your spirit. You've been chosen for something deeper, something weightier, something eternal. And that kind of calling doesn't come with noise. It comes with stillness. There is a weight to your silence, and heaven knows it. Because in that silence, God has been shaping your sight, sharpening your discernment, stripping away every mask that others tried to put on you. In the quiet, you started to see yourself clearly. You realized that you weren't created to blend in. You were born to stand apart. You weren't made to fit in the mold. You were crafted to break the pattern. And in that holy stillness, your identity was forged, not by popularity, but by prophecy. You don't need a crowd to know you're called. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You've been lit by the fire of heaven. You've been marked by something eternal. And when you walk into a room, even if no one claps, the atmosphere shifts. Why? Because you bring with you the residue of your isolation. You carry the fragrance of time spent with God. That's something no one can fake. That's why you intimidate people without trying. That's why the room gets quiet when you speak. That's why they watch you confused and curious. Because they can't figure out how you survived, what should have crushed you. But they don't know. Your strength came from the silence. The world teaches that growth is loud, that progress is visible, that impact has to be posted. But kingdom growth is quiet. Divine power is subtle. It's in the moments no one saw that God was building the version of you that's about to be revealed. You were being chiseled, refined, and forged in a holy fire. That's why it hurt. That's why you cried. That's why you felt abandoned. But you weren't abandoned. You were being rearranged. Let me talk to the one who feels forgotten. You're not. You're being hidden. There's a difference. When man forgets, it's neglect. But when God hides you, it's protection. He's not hiding you to deprive you. He's hiding you to develop you. Because the world is noisy, and too many voices can distort the purity of your anointing. So God in his mercy pulled you back so that you could be pulled up. He shielded you from their praise so that your soul wouldn't get addicted to it. Because when the time comes and he does release you, you won't need their cheers to keep going. You'll be moving to the rhythm of his heartbeat. Solitude teaches you how to stand alone so that when the storm comes, you don't collapse under pressure. It builds the muscles that applause never could. It develops the kind of resilience that doesn't flinch when betrayal comes. It creates a backbone for boldness and a soul that is settled. That's what's been happening to you. The loneliness didn't come to harm you. It came to consecrate you, to anoint you, to distinguish you. Because God doesn't call the crowded, he calls the called. You've been anointed in silence. You've been trained without fanfare. Your name may not be on their lips, but it's written in heaven. And while they scroll, searching for attention, you've been sowing, building, praying. You've been becoming the version of you that doesn't fold under fire. The version that doesn't run from the fight. The version that doesn't need man's nod to keep walking in obedience. And let me tell you this, when God is ready to reveal what he's been doing in you, no man can stop it. No delay can hold it. No lie can kill it. So hold your peace. Stay hidden until he says move. Stay humble until he says rise. Stay planted until he says now. Because the one who called you in secret is about to honor you in public. And when he does, it won't be because you forced your way in. It'll be because you were faithful in the dark. Remember this, your isolation was never about punishment. It was preparation. It was a spiritual womb, not a prison. It was a sacred place of development, not abandonment. And now, because you've allowed the silence to shape you, you are carrying a sound the world has never heard. You've got a message forged in the fire of loneliness, a voice trained in the chamber of intimacy with God, and a power that didn't come from man's approval, but from heaven's assignment. You are strong in solitude, not because you never needed anyone, but because you learned to lean on the only one who never changes. You found that his presence is not in the noise, but in the whisper. That his glory doesn't demand attention, it reveals itself in obedience. And you, my friend, you've obeyed even when it hurt. You've walked even when it was lonely. You've stayed the course, even when there was no applause. And now something is shifting. Heaven is leaning in. The silence is making way for the sound. And when you step out of this season, you won't step out weak. You'll step out ready. You'll step out refined. You'll step out carrying everything that the silence taught you. And the world won't be able to deny what God did in the quiet, because the chosen are not crowned in crowds. They are shaped in solitude. You are proof that silence doesn't mean absence. It means God is near, and when he is near, everything changes. You were born to be strong in solitude, and now you're about to show the world what heaven's preparation really looks like. Beloved chosen ones, when God hides you, it's never without purpose. It's never accidental. And it's not because you're lacking something, no, quite the opposite. The reason he conceals you is because you're carrying something so valuable, so explosive, so strategically designed for impact that to expose it too early would be a risk to the entire assignment he's placed on your life. You were not meant to be understood by everyone. You were not made to be applauded by the crowd too soon. That silence around you, that obscurity, that place where you feel like no one sees the depth of who you are or the call burning in your bones, that's not punishment. That's protection. That's God putting you in divine camouflage because the enemy you're called to defeat hasn't even revealed itself yet. And when it does, you'll be ready, not because of applause, but because of preparation. You are not behind schedule. You are hidden for strategy. You are not weak. You are being fortified. The enemy wants you to believe that if nobody knows your name, you must not matter. But God is saying, I've given you a name that hell already knows. That's why you're hidden. You're not missing out, you're being molded. You're not rejected, you're being refined. You're not invisible, you're invincible in the process. God doesn't hide what is worthless. He hides what is rare. You think diamonds lie exposed on the ground? No. They are buried deep because their worth demands discretion. You think gold floats in rivers waiting for anyone to snatch it. No, it's refined in fire, forged in pressure, and mined from darkness. Likewise, you chosen of God are being shaped in silence for a war you haven't seen yet. And your name, your identity is not just a label, it is your armor. It is the covering over your spirit that repels the darts of confusion, comparison, and compromise. Your name carries authority because it is sealed by heaven. God sees further down the road than you ever could. There are battles coming that would have destroyed you had he not pulled you aside and put you through the fire. There are enemies forming strategies that would have derailed your destiny had God not held you back long enough to develop spiritual muscle. He knew that your calling would put you on the radar of demonic opposition. He knew that your anointing would irritate the forces of darkness. So rather than promote you prematurely, he protected you with invisibility. You wanted platform, but he gave you prayer. You wanted spotlight, but he gave you solitude. You asked for influence, but he taught you intimacy. Because he knew the real battle would not be fought with popularity, but with power. You are not weak because you're waiting. You are wise. There are things you don't even know you've been spared from. There are storms you never saw because he rerouted you in silence. There are betrayals that never happened because he never let you walk through the wrong door. So when it feels like everyone else is getting ahead, like they're being seen, celebrated, called up, don't let that fool you into questioning your process. The delay is not denial. The detour is not defeat. It is design, because your destiny is not to just be seen, it's to be effective. And effectiveness takes shaping. You are being shaped into a weapon. Hell cannot dismantle. A force darkness cannot duplicate. A vessel heaven can trust. There are enemies tailor-made for your future battles, handcrafted for your destiny. And God knows this. That's why he equips you now with the very thing they won't be able to handle later: discernment, spiritual authority, unwavering identity. This is why your name matters. Not the name others gave you: failure, forgotten, unworthy, but the name heaven gave you: chosen, redeemed, warrior, beloved. That name is your shield. When the enemy comes to whisper, "Who do you think you are?" your very being answers with the thunder of heaven's truth. I am who God says I am. I've been approved. I've been refined. I've been hidden, not because I'm fragile, but because I'm fierce. I've been sharpened not to sit still, but to break chains. I've been silenced not because I lack voice, but because my voice is being trained to shake mountains. You have to stop thinking that quiet seasons are punishment. They are classroom. They are the forge. Every quiet day, every hidden moment, every unanswered call, every closed door has been building muscle in your soul. It's building reflexes in your spirit. You're not just learning how to speak. You're learning when to stay silent. You're not just learning how to fight. You're learning which battles are worth your energy. You're not just growing stronger, you're growing smarter. Because the enemy doesn't just fear your strength, he fears your clarity. And clarity comes from time spent in the presence of God, not the applause of people. Your clarity is your compass. Your identity is your shield. And your preparation is your proof that what's coming is bigger than what's been. The enemy wants to catch you while you're still weak, still uncertain, still needing validation from broken systems and shallow people. But God said, "Not my child. I'm not letting them walk into warfare without armor. I'm not letting them step into destiny without wisdom." So he covered you. He concealed you. He said, "I know the temptation to be seen is great, but your purpose is greater. I know you feel forgotten, but I've engraved your name on my hand. I know you're ready to go, but I'm not sending you out to be devoured. I'm sending you out to dominate. And for that, you need to be wrapped in the fullness of who I've made you to be. Your identity in me is not optional, it's essential." When you know who you are in God, you can walk into enemy territory and not flinch. You can sit at tables prepared in the presence of your enemies and not lose your peace. You can rise above slander, accusations, spiritual warfare, and fear because your name is anchored in eternity, not public opinion. You don't chase titles because you already carry testimony. You don't beg for doors to open because you've been trained in rooms where there were no doors, only prayer and obedience. And when God finally opens that stage, when he brings you out of hiding, it won't be to impress, it will be to impact. Your emergence will not be a performance, It will be a declaration. Hell tried to silence me, but I was speaking with heaven. The world thought I was dormant, but I was being trained. So now when the battle comes, and it will, you won't be confused. You won't be intimidated. You won't be caught off guard. You'll be ready, because God didn't just prepare you for the fight. He forged your identity to be the very weapon that wins it. And your enemies, some of them still don't know your name. But when you step out covered in purpose, clothed in confidence, sealed by grace, they won't be able to stop you. Because God didn't just build you to survive. He built you to overcome. He built you to stand. He built you to declare his name with fire in your bones and peace in your mind. You are not hidden because you're small. You are hidden because you are significant. You are not ignored. You are insulated. God has placed a hedge around you because what you carry is rare. He has called you to walk boldly into battles others can't even see, to speak truth. Others are afraid to whisper, to stand when everything around you shakes. And your identity, your God-given identity, is not just a name. It is your armor. It is the echo of heaven's assignment over your life. And it is the one thing the enemy cannot steal unless you give it away. But you won't, because you've been trained in the dark, strengthened in silence, molded in the quiet. And when the time is right, you will rise, not as someone desperate for attention, but as someone destined to shift the atmosphere. So hold fast, stay hidden if you must, but never forget your identity is your armor. And you were born for the kind of battle that only warriors trained by God can win. As we come to the end of today's message, I am certain that you were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to be handled, casually passed from one person to another like a tool anyone can pick up. You were not made to be used by just anyone, nor were you born to chase what the world chases. You were forged for heaven's agenda. You were set apart from the womb, not for fame, not for money, not for power, but for the kind of purpose that rattles the gates of hell and rewrites the futures of generations. This world may not have recognized you yet, but make no mistake, your assignment is not ordinary. You are a sacred weapon, and you don't hand sacred weapons to amateurs. There's a reason why God has kept you concealed while others have stepped into the spotlight. There's a reason why your journey has been hidden, quiet, and misunderstood. It's not because you lack value. It's because your value is beyond what the world can handle prematurely. Some people were launched while you were locked away. Some were released while you were refined. Because what God is placing in you is not a performance, it's power. And power requires precision. Power requires patience. Power requires pruning. You are not a microphone to amplify noise. You are a sword designed to divide truth from deception. You are not a brand to be marketed. You are a weapon to be deployed. When God calls you forth, it won't be to fit in, it'll be to cut through. That's why the training has felt so intense. That's why the isolation has been so uncomfortable. That's why the process has lasted longer than you expected. Because this kind of anointing cannot be microwaved. This kind of calling cannot be copied. God is not mass producing you. He is customizing you. You are not spiritual fast food. You are a slow-roasted, battle-tested, truth-carving, bondage-breaking force that cannot be wielded carelessly. God has been tempering your steel, sharpening your edge, and polishing your discernment so that when he sends you into battle, you don't just show up, you shift the entire climate. Now, I know some of you feel like your gifts are going to waste. You feel underutilized, overlooked, maybe even underestimated. You wonder, why am I not further by now? Why hasn't my platform grown? Why haven't I been given the opportunity to lead? But let me tell you something, heaven has already declared you are not being delayed. You are being deepened. There is a difference between exposure and equipping. If God exposes you too soon, you become a public success and a private disaster. But when he equips you in secret, you step out not just with potential, you step out with authority. You step out with clarity. You step out with scars that speak louder than opinions. Weapons don't get made overnight. Weapons go through the fire. Weapons are pounded, tested, and tried until every impurity is burned off, until every weakness is fortified, until every curve and every edge aligns with the purpose it was made for. And that's what God has been doing in you, not to punish you, but to prepare you, not to hurt you, but to harden you for the right fight. You see, he's not preparing you to impress people. He's preparing you to withstand demons. He's not making you ready for applause. He's making you ready for war, because what you are carrying is not for platforms, it's for principalities. You have to understand the difference between being used and being weaponized. The world knows how to use people. It uses them until they break, then throws them away. But heaven weaponizes people. Heaven arms them with wisdom. Heaven clothes them in humility. Heaven sharpens them with pain, strengthens them with rejection, and anoints them with the oil that only flows from crushed places. That's what you are. You're not somebody's project. You are God's prototype. You are not someone's sidekick. You are God's secret strategy for a region, for a people, for a generation that doesn't even know yet how much it needs what you carry. You are not meant to battle flesh and blood. You're meant to confront systems, uproot lies, dismantle strongholds, and set captives free, not with force, but with truth. Not with ego, but with anointing. You are a disruptor of deception, a breaker of chains, and a living rebuke to mediocrity and compromise. That's why the enemy has tried so hard to silence you. That's why you fought battles in your mind that no one knows about. That's why you've been tempted to settle, to shrink, to second guess what God said. Because the enemy knows if you ever come into full agreement with who you are in God, you'll shake every room you enter. You'll wake the sleepers. You'll awaken purpose. And that's a threat to darkness. Some of you have confused silence for absence. You thought God left you because you couldn't hear him. But he was there. He just wasn't talking to comfort you. He was training you in trust. Because when a soldier is being taught to use a weapon, the instructor doesn't have to keep reminding them of who they are. The silence is not rejection, it's refinement. God has been silent not because he's mad, but because he's molding. He's letting the fire speak. He's letting the pressure produce. And when the time comes, he won't whisper it, he'll declare it. This is my chosen one. This is my weapon. This is the one I've hidden, prepared, and now revealed. And when that moment comes, you won't walk out timid. You'll walk out unshakable. Because you didn't come through popularity. You came through pain. You didn't rise through promotion. You rose through perseverance. You won't need to borrow influence. You'll carry presence. And the same voices that doubted you will say, where did this person come from? And the answer will be simple. I came from the secret place. I came from the furnace. I came from the shadow of the Almighty. You are not a miracle waiting to happen. You are a miracle already formed, just waiting to be released. You were never built for shallow things. That's why shallow people frustrate you. That's why surface level conversations drain you. That's why environments filled with pretense and performance suffocate your soul. Because you were made for the depths. You were made to speak truth in boardrooms and break chains in back alleys. You were made to walk with kings but stay humble enough to sit with the broken. You are heaven's hybrid. You are the collision of lion and lamb, thunder and stillness, glory and dust. And you cannot be explained by human terms. You can only be revealed through divine timing. So stop trying to convince people of your value. Stop trying to fit your destiny into their understanding. Stop shrinking so others feel comfortable. You were not designed to fit their mold. You were designed to break it. You were not born to be liked. You were born to be launched. And when God launches you, no algorithm can stop you. No rejection can reverse it. No critic can cancel it, because it wasn't man who called you. It wasn't man who formed you. It was God. And when God decides that your time is now, even the gates of hell won't be able to hold you back. But until then, stay ready, stay sharp, stay surrender. Because when he pulls you out of hiding, you won't just show up as another face in the crowd. You will redefine what it means to walk in truth, to walk in purpose, and to walk in power. You won't just challenge the system, you'll carry a new standard. You won't just speak truth, you'll embody it. And the world won't just see you. They will feel the shift you bring. They will sense the authority you walk in. And they will follow, not because you demanded it, but because heaven confirmed it. You are not a tool to be used. You are a weapon to be honored. Treat yourself like heaven treats you. Guard your oil. Protect your peace. Refuse to be common, because when heaven gets ready to release you, it won't be for applause. It will be for impact. And when that moment arrives, remember this: you weren't hidden because you were weak. You were hidden because you were dangerous. You were hidden because you were holy. You were hidden because you were the weapon the enemy feared the most. And now your time is near. The world better get ready. Because when you step out, you won't come to blend in. You'll come to break ground. You'll come to tear down the old and make room for what God is birthing. And it won't be temporary. It'll be eternal. You were never meant to be used by man. You were designed to be deployed by God. And heaven never misses its target. You are locked, loaded, and ready, not for battle alone, but for victory that has already been declared. Walk in it. Be it. Release it. Finally, thank you for walking with me through every word, every truth, and every stirring moment. If this message has inspired you, lifted your spirit, or brought you closer to God's light, we humbly invite you to support this channel. Your kind words, your presence, and any contribution you make allow us to continue spreading the word of God and the peace of His love across the world. We are deeply grateful even to those who cannot give but choose to pray with us. Like and share these messages. Your participation is a blessing beyond words. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who may need this encouragement and wisdom today. Your engagement helps our community grow and helps us reach more lives with the light of Christ. We would love to hear from you in the comments section below. What part of this message spoke most to your heart? May God surround you with His grace, strengthen you in your purpose, and bless everything you put your hands to.